I've been reading this book about Japanese war crimes, and today I was reading some things that really reflect collective denial, the collective denial of evils that a people have done. And societies will partake in collective denial of the evils that its people have done in the past. Some great examples of this are Turkey denying the Armenian genocide and Japanese nationalists denying the atrocities that Imperial Japan committed. And so today I was reading this book, and it talked about how a British POW was literally crucified in a Japanese work camp. And it talks about how the guards put this man up against a cross. He was crucified. This man was literally crucified like Jesus Christ. You read about the crucifixion, this man went through it. He was crucified. They held him up against the cross, and they nailed his hands, they nailed his feet, and as his body was suspending on nails, hanging on nails, and he was in excruciating pain, a Japanese man took a very long nail and literally hammered it through his forehead and nailed his head onto the cross itself. And there was one man that witnessed this that reported it. He was a Chinese man. His name was Hyung. And he was the chef at this camp. And he witnessed this. And he reported it to Australian investigators, the Australians who were investigating Japanese war crimes after the war. And he told the whole story to the Australians with all the graphic details. And he said that not only did they crucify this man, but after they nailed his head against the cross, they opened up his stomach and they pulled all of his intestines out. They cut entire chunks of his flesh, and they put his intestines and they put pieces of his flesh on a platter to make it look as if they were going to cannibalize him. And they did this to scare the other POWs. If you steal stuff, because this man supposedly had stolen a pig because they were so damn hungry because the Japanese starved these POWs so much. They starved them and they worked them to death. They would give you, here's 85 grams of rice. Here you go. That's your food for the day. No nutrition, just starch. Here you go. So you were malnourished. You were very susceptible to diseases like malaria. People were dying around you from disease and starvation. People were being executed because they were trying to escape. They would force these POWs to march for miles and miles, hundreds of kilometers, so that they can work in another camp that was a far distance away. And once you showed weakness, they would take you aside and they would execute you. That's the hell that these people were going through. I'm sitting there reading this book, and I am just shuddering in horror and disgust reading this stuff. These poor British and Australian POWs starved, open to diseases, and then worked to death. You're up at 5, 6 in the morning, and you're working all day. And then when they would march you out to a different work camp, you had to walk hundreds of kilometers, no footwear. You have ulcers on your skin. It's a complete nightmare, guys. It is a complete and utter nightmare. Yet we have people, the Japanese, oh my God, they were so terribly treated by the Allies after the war. Oh my God, America, so evil. Yeah, that's the kind of crap that I was hearing from all these trad Catholics at the SSPX. Oh my God, the Japanese. Look at the horrors that they committed. Cannibalism, mass executions, work camps, to where they're literally working you to death. So they took this man and they crucified him like Jesus. And the Japanese man who was one of the Japanese men who were involved in crucifying this POW, his name was Nishikawa. I don't know what his first name was. His last name was Nishikawa. And this Chinese chef, Hyung, who reported this crime to the Australian investigators, he said that Nishikawa was one of the ones involved. So the Australians questioned Nishikawa, and Nishikawa said, no, there wasn't a crucifixion. The Australians questioned other Japanese or other, I'm not sure because a lot of guards in this camp were actually Taiwanese, or they called them Formosans. But they questioned some of the guards that were involved in this crucifixion, or they questioned all the guards that were involved because there weren't many of them. And they also denied it. They said, no, that didn't happen. No. Because this Chinese man, Hyong, he gave names. So they questioned the people that Hyong specified. And they all denied it. No, there was no crucifixion. Oh, no, we would never do that. No. Disembowel a man? Take chunks of his flesh off? No, that didn't happen. Oh, no, didn't happen. So they asked Hyong, the investigators asked Hyong, take us to the exact spot where you saw this man being crucified. So Hyong took them to the exact spot, and the Australians began to dig the ground, and they unearthed wooden boards that would be, if you put it together, would form a cross. They found wires. They found human remains, and they also found very long nails. This man wasn't lying. So then Hyong told them about another crime that was committed that he also witnessed in this camp. This was the Sandokan camp in Southeast Asia. This was a beheading of a POW. This was the last surviving POW in this camp. Remember, almost all of the people that were put in the Sandokan camp didn't make it. They died from disease. They were worked to death. They were executed. Only 6 POWs survived in this camp. Well, there was the last man left in the camp. The ones who survived, they escaped. They ran away. They went to the jungle and they just held their ground until the Allies came. There was the last man left in the camp. The Japanese took him. They took him to some isolated area, and one Japanese man pulled the samurai sword out and in one move decapitated him. And Hyong, the chef, witnessed this murder. And the Australians, they went to one of the Japanese men who were involved in this murder. His name was Mirozumi. And Mirozumi said, no, that didn't happen. He said everybody who died in that camp, they died from disease and starvation. I didn't murder anybody. No, there was no decapitation of a POW. They questioned the other guards that were involved in this, and they also denied it. Oh, no, that never happened. That didn't happen. So the investigators went to Hyong and they said, take us to the exact spot where you saw this man get decapitated. Hyong took them to the spot, and they began to dig the ground. And they unearthed a human body. They unearthed a corpse with its head separated. So they found the corpse of a man, and his head was severed and was in between his legs. So what are the chances? This man says, I witnessed a crucifixion. The Japanese deny it. The Australians say, take us to the spot. He takes them to the spot. They find boards, nails, wires, human remains, the traces of a crucifixion. And then he says, I saw a man get decapitated. The Japanese say, no, that didn't happen. They said, take us to the spot where you saw this occur. Hyong takes them to the spot. What do they find? A decapitated body. This man wasn't lying. But yet, the people who were involved denied it. No, that didn't happen. Oh, no, that didn't happen. One man stood as a witness to this. One man against the majority of the people. Everybody who witnessed this, everybody who was involved in this denied it except for one man, and that man was correct. That one man was telling the truth, and everybody else was lying. Is it possible for one man to be right and the whole earth wrong? Absolutely. This is collective denial. And I see the same type of stuff in Ukraine. I saw a video of a Russian man literally being crucified, nailed onto a cross, set on fire, And all these Ukrainians say, "Oh no, that's acting. Those are actors." I watched a video from 2017 of a Russian man being buried alive by Ukrainian nationalists. From 2017, they buried this man alive. I did research on this. All the Ukrainians said, "Oh no, this is acting. It's all nonsense, acting." Well, how do you know it's acting? Well, because if you watch the video when they bury him alive, see how fast it takes them to put all the dirt into the pit. They put him in a pit and they bury him. See, it takes them like 2 minutes to fill up the whole hole. Well, yeah, because they had this giant mound of earth all ready to go. Of course, it takes a short amount of time to fill up the hole. That's not evidence of fakery. That's not evidence of acting. You see a man literally being buried alive, and these people say, "Oh no, that didn't happen. Oh no, that didn't happen." And here's the thing about collective denial. With collective denial, you also have collective victimhood. And with collective victimhood, you have collective cruelty. Oh, no, we never did that. No. We're actually all victims. Collective victimhood. So, no, we didn't do that. That didn't happen. That's collective denial. We're the ones being oppressed. Collective victimhood. Because we're the ones being oppressed, we now have a right to commit all sorts of horrific atrocities. Collective cruelty. Collective evil. Great example. The Ukrainian nationalists, before they butchered 100,000 Poles in the 1940s, the Ukrainians had a very widespread network of activists in America, Canada. What's up with Canada and Ukrainian Nazis? That's what scares me about Canada. You guys have way too many Nazis. Way too many. It's scary. But they had all these nationalists in America, in Canada. They had them in Europe. And all these activists were saying, "Oh, look, Poland is mistreating us," because Poland took over a chunk of Ukraine in the 1920s. Poland defeated Ukraine in a war. All these Ukrainian nationalists / activists were saying, "Oh, look, Poland is mistreating us. Poland is treating us terribly." And Poland said, "No, we're not treating them terribly. The people that we are punishing are criminals. They're terrorists. They're nationalist terrorists. They're not Nazis, but they're basically hardcore far-right Ukrainian nationalists that want to murder Poles and murder Polish politicians." That's what we're dealing with. We're fighting terrorists. We're not just killing random Ukrainians. But the Ukrainian activists were making it out as if the Polish government was just anti-Ukrainian, and it was evil, and it was racist against the Ukrainians. It was mistreating Ukrainians. And that was all a lie. Collective victimhood. Also, collective denial. They were denying the fact that Poland was fighting terrorism, and that these Ukrainians who were being arrested weren't just, poor people, poor victims. These were terrorists. So you have collective denial, collective victimhood. And then in the 1940s, the Ukrainians say, "Well, we've been such victims that we need to just kill Poles." Then they went out and they butchered Polish people. The only butchers were, the butchers were not the Poles. The butchers were the Ukrainian nationalists. Those were the butchers at the end of the day. Same thing with Turkey. Oh, Armenian genocide, that didn't happen. Collective denial. Turkey is being attacked by Armenia. Armenia is mistreating Turks. Collective victimhood. And that leads to what? Collective cruelty. And that's why you see a video of an Azeri soldier butchering an old Armenian man in his 80s as he's begging for his life. Because they believe that they're victims, so they feel justified in whatever evil that they do. This is collective evil. And the formula for this is collective denial, collective victimhood. And then the end result is collective cruelty. That's just the bottom line. Anyway, guys, you've just heard some theology. God bless.